he told us, yeah, so I need you guys to start writing these reviews, like positive reviews, because these people are just ruining the ratings. And so every few days they would take us and put us in a room and then watch us type out what we're going to write. And they approved it to make sure it was good.
You worked at a couple different offices, and this was Credico, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Credico.
You started out in Chicago, so that's same market where I started. Tell us how you got involved in this. What were you looking for? How did you end up getting there?
So it's pretty crazy. It's just like I just finished up with school for the year, and I just needed a job to work at because I just finished wrestling. My scholarship was done. And so I needed a place to work. And so it was just like a Monday or Tuesday night. I'm still on campus after school. I applied to this job on ZipRecruiter that said $4,500 to $5,500 a month for a customer service rep. And I was like, cool. It's already been posted for like 3 weeks. I was like, I'm just going to post for it anyways. So I applied. I woke up the next morning. I got a response saying, hey, like I was shortlisted for a 3-week interview process. And that like if I can come in on Thursday, I think it was a Tuesday then, come in Thursday, dressed business professional for an interview. And so that was the first time I ever applied for jobs. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to go. I only had like about $180 to my name because I was just a broke college kid. And so my parents helped me pay for a suit. Then I just ended up like just taking the train to the interview in Chicago, from Champaign to Chicago. And then my train actually almost missed the interview time because like it got delayed. And looking back on it, I wish it did. But and that's how I actually got into it. So I walked in to the office, which was like really like in just the heart of downtown. It's like on Wabash. And I waited there for about like just 45 minutes waiting for my name to get called in. And that's where I met the manager there was Ben Streams. He's just some guy from the UK, which a lot of these guys are from the UK. And he was interviewing me. He was just talking like just basic stuff, basically like just surface level questions. Interview only lasted about 5 minutes, and he said I'll get a call back at 6 if I did like get chosen for a second round interview. So that night I just went with my friends to a Sox game. On the way to Sox game, I got a call saying I had to interview the next 10 a.m. And that is when like I met my leader, Danny. And so with that interview, I showed up at 10, and it was an in-house interview, which is like different than a lot of other ones. So a lot of people do observation days, but what they do in Chicago and what they do in Atlanta is in-house presentations. And so we did there. He just explained the business to me, just saying like, yeah, we're in Walmart's, but like that's where we don't want you there the whole time. You're just gonna do sales so you can teach sales, so you can teach people how to teach people, and then you learn how to manage, and then you learn how to overlook. So I really bought into like the big picture of it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like I'm not gonna be in Walmart my whole life, so I'm gonna do that. So I actually did take the position. I went back to Champaign, grabbed all my stuff from my room, and moved back in with my parents back in the suburbs of Chicago. And from there, that's when one of my first day that Monday, I got the job Friday, started Monday. And I was told I was like one of only 3 people selected for the position, which a lot of people here. Everyone who was in the office that day interviewing, everyone got the job. So when I saw that, I was pretty upset. I was like, these people already lied to me. Yeah. And so on the first days when I just learned like the basic sales systems, like C, KISS, law of average, we had this thing called like SW3 equals N, like some will, some won't, so what. We did the whole like morning ritual saying juice. That was the first time I ever seen anything like that. I was so uncomfortable. It's like juice, 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 and like just clapping and yelling. And I was just like, what is this? Like, this is not like a real job. But I was like, whatever, I've never had a job before, so I don't know how it's supposed to be. And so we actually go downstairs or leaving the office. Like, where the fuck are we going now? And so we go down to Dunkin', get coffees, and then one of like the trainers or like one of the leaders goes in this beat up minivan, brings it over. We go in the, he's like, let's get in the van. I was like, okay, whatever. I have no idea what's going on. And then we're driving for like 30 minutes to like 30 or 45 minutes all the way to like the Walmart in Crestwood. So we go there, we get dropped off. The first 2 hours I'm just watching. and I'm scared out of my mind because I've never like just approached people, just random people. And it was my turn to finally start doing it. I actually made my first sale that day. Well, it was actually a Walmart employee who canceled that same night. And so after that, I just showed up to my second day. And that's when one of the girls I started with never showed back up. And I asked about that. I was like, hey, like, where is she? And he's like, oh, we had a talk and it just wasn't for her. And I was like, that was like a red flag for me. I was like, okay. And like, as like every time, I've seen so many people just come and go within one day. It's insane. So luckily the first week I hit the criteria of 8 services in the week to get the base of 360. The second week I did 7 services and instead of 8. And then my paycheck, I was expecting to get around like $300 again, but it was all the way down to like 150. And so I was like, what is this? And then like, that's when the manager, Ben, was just like, oh, like you have the 8 lines. I was like, I was never told this. I was like, whatever. The third week is like when I did like 20 services, and that's when I finally got promoted. When I got promoted, I actually had to go out on that Sunday to like hit the promotion criteria. And what I had to do is I had to drive, like you went to Lombard. I had to drive from Lombard to downtown Chicago to pick up my leader and then drive him and myself all the way to Crestwood to go to the Walmart there. And so I was there all day Sunday, finally hit the criteria. And then I had to drop him back off in Chicago and go back home like 8 o'clock at night, have my promotion the next day. And that week I was supposed to make about $1,000 on my paycheck before taxes. But after everything, I only got paid about like $350. And right there is when I sat down with Ben. I was so close to leaving the company. But he was just saying, oh, these are pending installs and some canceled. But I was like, whatever, I'm just stick it out for like another week. And then that's when Ben, just 1 week, like my leader, Danny, was like, yeah, Ben's going on holiday, which is like what British people just say for vacation. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to go, wait it out. 1 week passes by, 2 weeks pass by, 3 weeks pass by, and just no word from Ben. Just never see this man again. It turns out he just left and just went back to the UK and just left the office the way it was. And so from then on, we're just in limbo for about a few weeks there, to where in the Chicago office, we have multiple offices. We have like an Xfinity campaign, charity campaign, another charity, Sprint, all of those. And so we did is, that was when that was last July, is when he left. In the beginning of July is when we went into the regional consultant's office, Matt, where we started a new campaign. It was a sprint campaign. And that campaign was actually really huge in the beginning. A lot of people made a lot of money on that just because we're just going to the lowest demographic areas and just pitching iPhones. And basically, the way Matt put it was just like, it's just like Assurance Wireless, like government phones. Like that's what the spring campaign was, because there's like really no rules to it because it's such a new campaign. Yeah. And so we started that on July 1st. The first place that I went to on that campaign was 59th and Ashland, which the people who aren't from Chicago is on the south side. Really, one of the worst neighborhoods is Inglewood. And I've never been to those kind of neighborhoods. I've always been like in a nice suburban area, luckily. But when I went there, like I was like, this is crazy. And so we went there. I saw like people just like yelling slurs at each other, people just like fighting. I saw so many drug deals to where like I started having to bring a knife with me every time I went out to the field to make sure that I'm just okay. That's just because a few weeks later, I'm on 79th and Cottage, which is probably worse than 59th and Ashland. We set up like right in front of this place called Image Corner. And there's this guy we knew who was always on the corner. His name was Reese. Him and some other dudes like started fighting. And then I just saw him pull out a knife and just start stabbing the guy literally like 5 feet away from me. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, where am I? Like, why am I like, and we kept going there. We keep sending people there. And it's insane. We saw that. And after that, I was like, I should have left then. But I was like, well, I'm just going to keep it on. I'm just going to keep keeping on, just keep going. Like, I made money that day. I was like, that was just a one-time fluke. And so that's why we're going to low demographic areas, because we know it's so easy to impulse those people. Yeah. Like these people who couldn't afford iPhones, I was like, hey, you have Metro, you move over just one phone number, you can get 4 iPhones for no money down. And a lot of these people didn't have bank cards, and you need the bank card for the $1.01 hold. So we like got this app called Current, where you can just make a bank account on the spot, and it gives you a temporary card. And so we just set up all these people with these currents and just put $1.01 on it, and then literally they'll just use that card one time. None of these people paid the bill ever. No one paid the bill, but there's no clawbacks. So as long as they got the phones and turned them on, it was completely fine. We're just told, just keep selling them, keep selling them. Until Sprint finally was like, okay, we're gonna stop moving up the credit class thing. That's when a lot of people fell off, because there's a lot of fraud on the Sprint campaign. There's especially one guy, John, where he was just literally sending phones to Florida to the same address with people's just like socials and stuff, and just like getting paid on that. So I was able to start interviewing. First guy interviewed was just like some guy who worked in the warehouse. And the first thing I talked about with my leader, he was like, hey, like with new guys, you always have to like belt loop them. Yep. I was like, what does that mean? It's like, you can't let them leave their side. You can't let them talk to other new people to avoid negative conversations. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, am I like a babysitter? This is a grown man I'm like working with. Like, why do I have to like watch him like a kid? And he was like, oh, because they're going to just like neg each other out and this and that. And I was like, I'm not going to just watch this man. Like, I'm not getting paid to watch him. And so I was always leaving like my retrains alone. I got in trouble for that a lot, because I was just like, these are just grown people. Like, I'm not going to like watch them as a kid. Then after that is when like we had morning meetings every morning with the regional consultant. And he was like, one time, he was like, yeah. So like, he told us a funny story, how like he was interviewing this chick, and he was interviewing her, and then she like took the job but never showed up. And then that same day, she never showed up. They wrote an interview about him on Glassdoor, saying how he's just like a scammer with a fake British accent. Just pretty funny. He is from the UK, so he's not lying about that. But then that day, actually got like, he told us, yeah, so I need you guys to start writing these reviews, like positive reviews, because these people are just ruining the ratings. And we just need to make sure people want to come here to work, because it's a good place. You guys like working here, right? And I was like, yeah. And so every few days, they would take us and put us in a room and then watch us type out what we're going to write. And they approved it to make sure it was good. And you can tell too, like I sent you that picture of like the link. If you look at that date of the link, it was like end of July. And then you go on that link on the website, you'll see there's like within those 4 or 5 days, there's just a ton of reviews. Or just 5-star reviews, just pretty crazy. I was in Chicago, it was doing pretty well. We went on a road trip to Atlanta in November, to where it was a last-second road trip. It was like, we're going to go on Monday. I was told on Friday that we're going to Atlanta. And it was supposed to be me, my leader, Danny, Pierre, and then Eli. We're trying to get Eli promoted. Pierre's car is broken down. Danny, the junior executive, which is like the assistant manager, doesn't have a car. And then Eli doesn't have a license. And so I had to go to my grandparents to allow me to use the car to drive it down to Atlanta and back. And I asked, I was like, well, who's going to like, are you guys going to pay for gas? You can pay for miles. Like, who's going to pay for the hotel? And then like all the regional consultant did was just pay for the hotel. We're going to the worst neighborhoods. We went to like 5 Points, train station, not the little 5 Points. So if you're from Georgia, you know there's a difference. We went to like the East Mall, or what it's called. I think it's like the East Mall. And we set up there, and that road trip was great. We made so much money. People were flocking to our tables. We did street events. We didn't do business to business or door to door. We went straight events. So we just set up in locations and just pitched people that are coming by. Like, people just kept coming to the table. And it was just easy money. There was a time too where when we stopped moving people up credit classes, we were told just to buy the phones for people. And then we'll get reimbursed, which only very few people got reimbursed for it. But like, there's like this one phone called the LG Tribute Royale. And that phone is literally just a beat up phone. There's this one guy, John, who was telling people it was the equivalent of an iPhone 7, and they were just buying into it when it was just like an old cheap. It was just like a cheap phone. It was like $15 a phone, but we're making about $45 a line per phone. We can sign someone up to 5 lines, and so what we were doing there is I was paying for. I'm not gonna lie, I was paying for phones just because like, I was trying to get paid. I knew that was the only way. And, like the neighborhoods we were going to, no one had money. Very few people had money. We were always setting up shop outside of like financial aid places, unemployment, because those people would literally be like, "Oh, I'm about to go get my unemployment check, and then I'll come pay it for you." So we're always outside of those places, and that's how it was all the time. And then we get back from Atlanta. And I'm told by the leader, Danny, because he's about to finally open up his office. He's like, "Hey, we're going to move to Atlanta end of December." I was like, "Okay, cool." And I was like, in 2 weeks. So I said bye to everyone. My family's just like, well, "Are they going to pay for your room? Are they going to pay for the moving fees and this and that?" Like, no, I'm doing this. And my parents like telling me all the time, like, "This is a scam. This is a scam." I just felt like the more and more like they told me it was a scam, it was like more and more I wanted to prove them wrong instead of like prove them right. And so then I finally moved down to Atlanta. And the thing was, like, we were like staying in some random dude's apartment for 3 weeks. We didn't even have an apartment yet. We just had a temporary apartment. And the way we got into the building is like we had to wait because it was a gated community. We had to always wait for somebody to like sign in or like put their code in. And then we'd have to rush our car right behind them in the gate, or else my car would get scratched up. And we did that for like 3 weeks before we moved into our finally new apartment. Again, we had to pay for everything for moving, and I had to drive everywhere. I had to drive everywhere. Danny wanted to go to Walmart. Eli needed to get something. I had to drive him because no one else had a car. And I'm just like, "You're making so much money. Like, how do you not have a car?" He's like, I remember one time I was like, "Why don't you have a license?" He was like, "Oh, because getting a license is a scam." And I was like, "What?" Like, I was like appalled when he said that. And so like every day, I was driving about like 50 miles a day because I had to drive to the office, drive to our locations in Atlanta, which we always go to 5 Points, which is like downtown Atlanta, or to Decatur train station, which is like even further out of Atlanta. And we go to places like that. We're still doing the spring campaign. And then one day when I was at 5 Points, I actually had Danny's retrain with me, and we're outside. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon, and I just hear an argument happening. During that argument, it's just like, "Man, I'll knock you out." And the other guy said, I'll kill you. And then next thing you know, I just see this man pull a gun out and shoot the guy right point blank range at like 2:30 in the afternoon, like 20 feet away from me. And I was like, "Not this again." I was like, "This is even worse." And then I remember I told Danny about it, and he was just like, because I was placing an order then for a phone. I was like, "I'm just trying to get out of here." And Danny was like, "Oh, Joel, like the retrains, like just calm the retrain down, like have her finish the sale for you and get her mind off of it." I was like, "We just saw someone get murdered. Like, how do you expect me to keep just working?" And I was just like, then I started realizing like this man does not care. And it's just like, he just cares about the money. I was like, literally just witnessed somebody get killed, and all you care about is me finishing the sale. I've never like seen anything like that. Eventually, when I was still in Atlanta, I was able to meet the vice president, Justin Cobb, who was like this, like the god of all gods to them. I liked him. I think he's a cool guy, but he's obviously just a scam artist as well. He's a con artist. He's really cool. Like that's why I stayed in, because he wrestled and I wrestled, and so I was like, okay, cool. I can relate to this man. I see he's doing well because he was making a lot of money. There's very few people I saw make money in this business, and it was Matt. I know Matt was making money, and I know Justin was making money. Other than that, I didn't really see people making that much money. When we were down there, Danny was in the same office as Obi. That's whose office we were connected to. And this is when I really started realizing you're not your own boss, because like Obi told Danny everything like he had to do. He's like, "Danny, you're going here today with so and so," and Danny would like just be okay. And Danny would be like, sometime whenever Danny wanted stuff to do, he's like, "Oh, I got to talk to Obi about it." I'm just like, if this is your own office, like you don't need to like talk to this man. Like he's just there to help you. I thought he's just there to consult you. Like he's not there to tell you what to do. And actually, he just got off the phone with one of the guys I lived with down there, Eli. He told me, like, he got fired, but he didn't get fired by Danny. He got fired by Obi. And I was like, how is that even possible? Like he's not in your office. And then after that, like the Corona hit, and once Corona hit, we stopped sprint, cut us down completely. It was like, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. It's end of March. After that, we were just in limbo for like 2 weeks. Credico actually paid us like $500 a week during those 2 weeks we couldn't work. That's what actually made me stay a little bit longer, just because I saw like Credico. I was like, oh, maybe they actually do care about employees. And then after that, we actually got onto like this campaign called the Pharmacy Wholesale Club. And it's basically we went door to door, telling people, hey, like you get this membership to this Pharmacy Wholesale Club. You get all your medications at a wholesale price. We did that for like about 2 weeks. We weren't even getting paid on that because like there's no commissions on it yet. And then after that, essentially, we stopped doing that, and then we moved to Assurance Wireless. With Assurance Wireless, basically just government phones. So we're going to the worst neighborhoods again, just doing Assurance Wireless. And actually, one time we were doing Assurance Wireless, one of the girls I was with, I had to leave because I had to go pick up Danny to take him home to like do something because he doesn't have a car again. And I come back, and she was texting me saying, where are you? Where are you? And I was like, why? She's like, because this guy tried to pull me in to his like his apartment, and like I like fight him off. And I was like, okay, this is just insane. And then like all like the manager said was just like, oh, just go home, call it a day. You okay? Cool. I'm just like this is like all this kind of stuff is just going on over and over. And then finally we go back onto the Sprint campaign, door to door. We did that. Actually, that's when I actually saw your video of the Slave Circle. And for like the week, that was like my finally like calling. I was like, I saw your video, and then every time I was interviewing people over Zoom, they're like, this isn't the position I applied for. This isn't the position I applied for. People were literally just blocking me right away, like mid-Zoom calls on the interviews. Then I talked to Danny, and I was like, Danny, like, listen, like, do you even make your own ads? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, do you make these ads? Because everyone's saying, like, they're not applying for this job. And he was like, no, like, someone else does it for me. I was like, would you have a say-so in it? He's like, no, not really. And I was like, these jobs, like, and I was like, they're saying they're applying for this, like marketing assistant, this and that. I was like, well, you got to convince them to like want to do this. And I was like, my job's not to convince. My job's just like interview. And then once I did that and I saw your video, I was like, this is it for me. I said, hey, look at, I'm just gone. And he was just like, okay. And then that's where it finally ended. And like a few weeks later, I drove back home to Chicago.
So you've mentioned a few names, and I think it's important to name these whatever we want to call them, con artists, scam artists, cult leaders, because they're the scum of the earth. You mentioned Danny Wakefield. He is the whatever you want to call him. He's not an owner, that's for sure. He's the scam artist who's currently running the Cause Collective out of Atlanta. There's Matthew Goodchild, who is supposedly a big deal regional consultant in Chicago. He has a track record of, if you Google Matthew Goodchild, Credico, Matthew Goodchild scam, there's plenty of reading. You know, he's been associated with such companies like New York Vision, Pan Atlantic Associates. His picture is on Devil Corp. So he seems to be a career-long scam artist. And then you also talked about Justin Cobb, who has been mentioned before. You mentioned in your message that when you saw all these red flags and they continue to accumulate, because you talked about seeing someone get shot, seeing someone get stabbed, and these scam artists not caring at all. What made you stay? Like, I know it's easy to kind of doubt it and to be critical of this now since you've been out of it. And, you know, how do you bury those red flags?
It was just because I was making pretty good money. Like, I was able to like sign and leave somebody up once a day, 2 customers a day. That would equal like at least $180 to $360 a day. And my install rates are pretty good in the beginning. So I was making around like $800-900 a week, every week. So it just kept coming. I was like, then I knew like, hey, this stuff is happening, but I'm not gonna be in the field forever. Like the way I'm going, like I'm gonna like start training people, and then I'll eventually get in the office. I want to deal with that kind of stuff anymore. And so that's the only thing. My thing that was always pushing me and making me to put that stuff aside was just because I saw Matt was making good money. He actually was like living like the life that like he actually preaches in interviews and stuff. Like he came in whenever he wanted. He was making good money. He lived in a nice downtown apartment. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like that's the position I want to be in. And so seeing him every day was like, okay, like that's the position I want to be in, because he makes it real in Chicago office. Even though even though it's like 4 of the managers in there not living that life, when you see Matt, like you're just kind of like everyone's into it then, because you see like it's worked for one person, and so that's what made me stay. Because then you're like I'm not like these other people. Like I'm gonna be like Matt, and that's what like everyone thinks.
Yeah, and I mean he can be as financially successful as he claims or shows to be, but you sent me a lot of screenshots of conversations, of text messages that he sent out, and you know, someone who talks to people the way he does, I have absolutely no respect for someone like that. He's a scumbag con artist who, if he is rich, has gotten rich by exploiting customers, by exploiting workers, and taking advantage of pretty much everybody he's come across. So, you know, I can't have any respect for him, and I know he wouldn't care if he ever heard that, because he sold his soul to Satan years ago, and it's just there's no empathy, there's no human element, and you know we could have a whole other conversation and say, you know, is there any ethical side to any sales organization? Because sales is always about the sale. Sales is always about the money. It's never about the people. And you know, some of these messages, there's no concern for the person. Like, and even you said too, before we started, that you know, even some of these messages where he tells you not to do things anymore, those were things he was fine with until, I guess, Sprint, who these people would call the client, complained to him about it or something like that.
Yeah. You're literally telling us, like, just buy these people the phones. Like, it's $5, just buy them the phones. And then, like, because, like, there's no callbacks, just buy them the phone, and that's it. Who cares if they pay the bill? And then, like, there's people in homeless shelters, and we're just like, yeah. He was fine with it until, like, Sprint was like, no. And he's like, no, you got to stop it. And it's like, as long as it's making him money and, like, the client doesn't care, he's going to keep doing it.
Yeah, he's a first-class piece of shit. Matthew Goodchild.
I mean, every single interview is like the same with the interview process. It's just like learning it. It's just all scripts. You have to memorize. No matter what stage you're at, it's just scripts. My friend, like, who I lived with back in Atlanta, literally, I just talked to him saying him and the girl got fired the exact same, got fired together, but at different times of the day. And Obi literally just said the exact same thing to her, verbatim what he said to him. And it's just all scripts, what they're saying. Like, whatever they say is all scripts. They go up to somebody hired and be like, hey, what do I say to this person? And so you say this exactly. And then, like, oh, what if, like, they don't take it the right way? Then, like, they're not the right person then. It's always, like, it's either they do it or, like, they're not the right person. You find on to the next person, which is just all their whole philosophies. So, like, if they won't do it, somebody else will.
Yeah, because there's no human element to it. Everyone's a number.
Yeah, it's
you know, if you're not generating numbers in the field, then you're worthless. Get out. And yeah, anybody else, because they know, especially now, that people are so desperate, and that they're so good with the manipulation and the brainwashing that they could talk pretty much anybody into working for one of these. And you know, like your experience, you saw someone get shot, you saw someone get stabbed, literally right in front of you. Like the police showed up, you could be a witness to the crime, but people still come back, and they'll come back the next day and stand on corners in the worst neighborhoods. And I'm sure there was no concern for your safety or for your training safety by these cult leaders. They just wanted you out there to get the money, to do the signups and get the money. But people are so desperate for work now that that is acceptable to them. And that speaks volumes of, about many things: sales, just our culture, our country's hyper-capitalist society, our consumerism culture. There are so many other issues that brings up that are never going to be resolved because we're fine with that as a society.
Yeah.
And I had to laugh because you sent me so much good material. You sent me this one thing about growth and how this company, and I don't even remember which one this came from, but they talked about how they started in London and then they expanded to New York, Wall Street, and then Chicago, and then growth, and now they're up to 15 offices, and then they're going to get to 50 offices, and then if they get to 50, they'll get to 100, and then they'll get to 200, and then to 400, and they believe in this exponential growth, and they don't stop to realize offices fail. Yeah. These cults are not based in reality, because you don't make money until you are like a Matthew Goodchild and you're able to step on and screw over enough people to get to the top where you might be making six figures, yeah, even though you're supposed to be making six figures at least one level underneath him. They just see the idealistic scenario: 400 offices in the next few years. Please, you've been talking about, Smart Circle has been talking about opening 100 offices for the last 5 years, and they're still not close to that. So it's just a gigantic lie. And it's unfortunate that we live in a society that preys on, like you said, lower income people, that preys on less educated people. And you're never going to get educated about any of this stuff like in schools or anything like that. This is something that you only learn about when you are looking for work. You unknowingly get sucked into one of these scams. You are used for your time, and in your case, your car, and for any other stuff you can contribute free of charge to the cult. And then once you start questioning it, or they've decided you have lost whatever worth you have, they'll just kick you out, and they'll find another sucker to replace you. And that's where we are. That's where we are as a society now. And as long as we are like that, these cults, Credico, Sidcor, Smart Circle, Abco, they will flourish. Nothing I can do, nothing you can do, nothing Devil Corp can do, until these other companies, Sprint, Comcast, Xfinity, they start to grow a pair and say, we're going to have some ethics. We're actually going to take the unprecedented step and put some ethics and some humanity before the bottom line, before our millions upon hundreds of millions of dollars that we make. And we're going to stop outsourcing our sales to these scam cult companies. Nothing's going to change. And I have no faith that it will.
Yeah, the thing is about like AT&T, Xfinity, they work with Credico. Mm-hmm. And then Credico is like, hey, these are all independent companies, even though we own them. These are all independent companies. So anything that happens with these companies is on them. So Credico has no liability, and then Xfinity has no liability. So they're always going to just keep doing it no matter what. Yep. Because within the law, they're not doing anything wrong. It's that one little business in the wrong.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why they advertise owning your own business. You never own your own business. You just create. You're given essentially a business entity where you, the owner, will face the legal consequences if something goes wrong. And they'll take all your money. They'll take everything else that you have. They'll take your time. You won't be able to look for an actual job while you shut down your office, unless you're like Ben, who had the genius idea of just getting the hell out of Dodge and leaving everybody behind. I'll give him credit. I don't want to say anything positive about any of these scammers, but at least he just left. I mean,
scammers. He's like, I'm gone.
Yeah. But that's how they can advertise that you're going to own your own business. Because who wouldn't want to own their own business, right? Who wouldn't want to be an entrepreneur, call the shots, keep the money? But you don't call the shots. You don't keep the money. There's always someone above you making decisions. And nobody who owns their own business has that. right? Because I own my own business. You know who calls the shots? I do. Who keeps the money? I do. That's what entrepreneurship actually is. It's not any of this garbage.
Yeah.
But that's how, yeah, like you said, that's how they protect themselves. You know, and we did an interview earlier in the summer series with a former Credico corporate trainer, and he talked about the exact same thing. You know, he said he saw a couple people who, you know, or he saw one guy in particular who was going to open his own office, and he told them, you know, don't sign those papers because you're basically giving your power of attorney to Credico, which means that they'll keep everything while you get nothing. And that's exactly what happened.
That's how with my manager too when I left, because he had moved into a new apartment when I left because it was at the end of the lease. Mm-hmm. And he was going to move into like this nice apartment that his promoter lived in. But it's either he didn't have enough money or Credico didn't allow him to use a bank business account to take that money out. And I was like, that's like no way to live.
No.
It's just like, you have to like, they literally have to go through like, it's like their parents, like, hey, I want to take this much money out of my account. Can I get it? And it's like, no. And he's like, nothing you can do about it.
Yep. And because everything in Credico is manipulation, you know, when you go in and you're going through the field, you have this idea of, well, I'm going to become an owner and I'm going to be able to make all this money and I'm going to be able to control and keep all this money. But they're at that point, they're able to manipulate you and say, well, you know, that's not exactly how it works. But we are acting in your best interests. You know, we offer all of these, you know, these financial conference calls, and we make sure that we help you allocate your money so you're not going broke, and we help you spend it in these ways and all that. It's bullshit. They control your money. And like that example, when you go and ask, like you said, go into your parents for an allowance. Can I have this money to get my own apartment? No. Well, it's my money. No, it's not. It's Credico's money.
And the funny thing is too, like I sent you one of like a long 2-hour call of Justin Cobb talking about everything. And within the first, like, it's 10-minute mark to 12-minute mark, he's like, yeah, like a lot of these businesses fails out in the world, like 90% of them fail, but like not with me, 90% of my businesses succeed. And I was like, that's just a lie. I was like, there's no way like 90% of your business are succeeding, because if you did, you would be teaching the world what you're doing and making billions off of it.
And that's a really good point. You know that, Xavier? That's a really good point. All of these names that we've talked about today and in other videos, so Justin Cobb, you know, Matthew Goodchild, no one knows who they are. They have no name recognition. They are famous within the cult, but no one knows who they are outside of the cult and outside of the cult's publications, because you could Google their names and there's articles written about them and they're living the high life and they're succeeding and they're owning all these businesses. Yeah, who's publishing those articles? It's the cult. You're never going to see a CNN article or any reputable business publication writing about these jokers, because they're not successful business people. They're cult leaders, and they literally scammed hundreds, if not thousands of people their whole lives to get maybe six figures if the parent company has allowed them to keep that much money. It's all a lie.
It's all just lies. There's still some people I know that's in the business, and I like them a lot. They're still like just trainers, and like they still have like that like just brainwashed mentality of like, oh, I'm just own my own office and this and that. I was like, bro, just get out. Like, but they're in the Chicago office, like, oh, you see Matt, and if they're in Atlanta, it's like, oh, you see Justin. I'm just like, you're not reaching that. Like, those people got in early. Like, there's no way.
And that's the only example they can give you, right?
Yeah.
That's one example, right? That's the top of the pyramid, but they can't give you anybody else, right? Like, if you ask, okay, aside from Matt, aside from Justin, who else?
Exactly. There's one thing crazy too. I remember when we moved down to Atlanta, we're in the same office building as Obi.
Yeah.
And it was Christmas time. Obi gave us, not Danny, even though Danny's my manager and runs his own business, gave us like 4 days off. Just actually just relax for Christmas time. Mm-hmm. The only reason he did that is because he was leaving to Miami to go like party for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And when he came back, he got into a huge fight with Justin Cobb, because Justin Cobb was like, you do what I tell you to do. Like, you're not supposed to be giving out this many days because no other officers took off those days. Like, you do what I say or you get the fuck out. And what Obi did is like he had to leave the building, and we went to like another like manager who lives like down the blocks building for like 3 months until like Obi finally like asked Justin like, hey, can you take me back? I'm sorry. And then he's finally allowed back in the old one. And I was like, if you're your own your own boss, he doesn't have control about like where you go, where you stay, if you're paying rent. And it's like if you're in your own business, he can't tell you like when you can take days off and when not to take days off. And all the managers I've seen, except for Matt, is everyone's working every single day. Every day. My manager, like Danny, I lived with him. Never took days off. Not one day off. Didn't make 6 figures or anything close to it. And I'm just like, this is like everything you're teaching me, like once you get to this position, is just lies.
Why were you receptive to the slave circle?
Just because like it connected the dots. It connected all the dots for me. Because like those interviews I was doing is like, oh, it's not what I applied for. It's not what I applied for. And I just felt like, what am I doing wrong? And there's nothing I was doing wrong. It's that they're doing everything wrong. Because I was just like reading the script over and over and over like a robot. And then with the slave circle, I was seeing like right when the beginning, you're just like juice, like 5 steps. And I was like, holy shit, this man knows everything about this. And so then my manager actually walked in on me in my room watching this in the video. He's like, and I was like, yeah. I just tried to play it off. I was watching. I was like, yeah, these people are saying all this stuff, but like they just didn't want to make it. He's like, yeah. And in my head, I was like, you're a fucking liar. I just kept watching. I just saw everything, and like how like exact same thing with like the interviews. Like we started everyone. There's only 2 people I didn't like let's start because I just thought they were weird. But other than that, like if you got heartbeat, like you're in. Like cool. You know how to read a script. You know how to like memorize a script. Cool. That's it. That's all you need to do. Because like the same way it is with people, like it's just a numbers game. That's the same way it is with customers and teachers. Just a numbers game. All numbers. And then once I started seeing like you don't run your own business, and I asked them questions about the advertising, like after your video, like it just gave more credibility to your video. And I was like, yep, that's just over. I'm done. But there's so many reasons to get out, and then like that video was just like just a topping. I was like, it's over. I'm done. I'm getting out of this.
I'm glad you're able to get out. I'm glad you're back in Chicago now. I mean, not to knock Atlanta. I've never been to Atlanta, but
Atlanta was all right. But I'm so much happier in Chicago. Way more things to do.
Definitely. Sox and Cubs this weekend, man. What do you think?
White Sox all day.
Yeah.
I actually have a White Sox tattoo I lost a bet in college with. So me and my friends had another bet. I had to get a tattoo with the White Sox logo and the year they're going to win it, which I put 2023, which right now is looking not bad.
Possible.
I had to get it back in 2017. So if they don't win in 2023, I got to go back to tattoo shop and change it to an 8.
But, and then you better hope for 2028.
if that's not it, I'm just done. Like it's over.
Yeah.
Get it removed. But yeah,
I'll tell you, man, the Sox, they're impressive. I think they're not quite firing on all cylinders yet, but they've been building. They've done it the right way. They did it like the Cubbies did back in the 20-teens. They built a little bit at a time, and they've got a good window, man. If they can start things probably the next year, they can be really competitive.
I'm gonna go to Wrigley tomorrow to the bars and watch because there are all the games at Wrigley. So I'm gonna go out there with all my Sox gear.
Nice.
You know, hopefully. I wanted to get rooftop tickets, but those are like you got to pay
astronomical, I'm sure right now.
Yeah. One of my friends actually, like his dad got tickets from his job, like a real job, and they paid for his tickets to go be on the rooftop tonight. So I'm kind of jealous about that.
I think the Sox are definitely going to put up a fight. I think the Cubs are overachieving this year. I don't think they're nearly as good.
They've done well. I'll give it to them. They did well, really good in the beginning, but they also didn't have like the hardest like beginning either.
Yeah,
we had to face the Twins right off the bat.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's going to hurt the Cubs is that since we're only playing teams within our division, they're not getting a challenge really. You know.
Yeah. Which is like you guys faced the Indians.
Yeah.
Right after us, you guys played good against them. 3 weeks left of the and then it's in the playoffs.
Then it's
I'll be really excited the Sox to make it the playoffs this year, which they should.
They should. There's no reason that both of them should. Yeah, the Cubs and the Sox should both make the playoffs. I don't know how deep they'll go. It depends on who they play, but they should both make it.
We either get this. I think right now, with the way we're at, we're either going to get the 7th or 8th seed, which is going to be tough. It's either going to be Twins, or who else is really good in our league right now? Twins, Hate the Astros, those cheaters.
Oh God, yeah, awful.
Cheaters. You see how they're trying to like suspend Trevor Bauer for his
Yeah,
lead? And I was like, but you guys won't suspend any Houston player for cheating? Like,
that's a joke.
come on.
That's a joke.
Yeah, I hate the Astros with passion. Whenever I see someone with the Astros like hat, I lose respect for them instantly. I was like,
yeah. If I were Trevor Bauer, like I know he has a big social media presence, but I would have worn the shoes without saying anything and just seen what happens, you know? Because if they would have suspended him just for wearing them, there would have been a massive outcry. Because again, you're gonna suspend this guy for wearing spikes that you don't like, but you're not gonna suspend any of the Astros. It's a joke. It's
not even with a championship. Like they cheated. Like, how are you gonna give like, hey, you guys cheated, but we caught you after the fact, so it's okay.
But baseball's done that though. Like they are unwilling to deal with past controversies. You know, they're trying to put behind them. The steroids they've pretty much forgiven. They will not deal with that.
Consequences. There's no consequence. They don't want to deal with it. Just like these people, the Credico people, just like put it under the rug and eventually it'll just go away.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. See, we connected everything, so that's fine.
Yeah.